Good morning.
Good to see you all on this beautiful fall morning. Thank you for joining us for this special time together. It's always good to see you. Beautiful colors still out there. The leaves are really coming down now, but it's still lots of golds and oranges and reds out there. So beautiful day to come to church. Am I right?
You're right.
All right, well, I don't think there's any newcomers in the house. I can tell that at a glance. You all know where masks and sanitizer and things like that are to make yourselves comfortable. And you know there's a Joys and Concerns table back there. If there's anything you want to light a candle for, some prayer you're holding in mind and heart, feel free to do that at any time. We're going to be musicians today, so no need to introduce anyone behind me. It's going to be Joe and I today, which we're glad to do. And I know I'd like to start with a little joke, so I heard this little story about a guy who's driving somewhere in the country. And there's, off by the side of the road, there's a couple of preachers. One was actually a rabbi, and one was a priest. And they're fishing on this shoulder of the road, and there's a sign up next to them that says, "Turn around, the end is near." Have you heard this story before? No. The end is near. And so this guy's driving by there, and it just irks him, so he slows down, long enough to yell out the window, "Mind your own business, you religious nuts," and keeps going, and in just 30 seconds they hear a screech of tires and a splash, and the rabbi says to the priest, "I told you we just should have said bridge out." That's a good one. I like that one.
That is good.
All right. A good laugh, and then we start thinking about prayer. We always start with our service with prayer. So I invite you to think about what you're lifting up in prayer this morning. Prayers for yourself, prayers for your loved ones, for your friends, for your neighbors, for your community, for our beautiful planet. And as we begin to think about that and get centered in that, Joe and I are going to do a little going into prayer song for you. It's one of our favorites. It's by Michael Smith. It's called "Breathe." And if you want to sing along at any point as you're just sitting and getting centered, feel free to do that. This is the air I breathe. This is the air I breathe. Your holy presence living in me. This is my daily bread. This is my daily bread. Your very word spoken in me, and I'm listening for you, and I'm living for you. This is the air I breathe. This is the air I breathe. Your holy presence living in me. This is my daily bread. This is my daily bread. Your very word spoken in me, and I'm listening for you, and to that power and presence of God that lives in us always, flowing through us ceaselessly as renewing life energy, as steadying peace, as guiding wisdom. The activity of God in us that is ceaseless, reliable, unfailing. We affirm our understanding in these quiet moments that that presence is with us all, at all times and in all circumstances, regardless of any challenges we might face, any conditions we are dealing with. The power and presence of God is with us in the very midst, seeking to strengthen and empower and guide and protect us as we make our way. We affirm this truth for all those we are lifting up in prayer this morning, for all those in our prayer circle this morning, whether they are here or far away, for all of our neighbors and friends, our communities across the globe, for living beings everywhere. The power and presence of God is with us all. We affirm this deep truth, and we commit ourselves to remembering that and living from that certainty through the days of the week before us. So we come out of this time of prayer together with gratitude in heart and mind, knowing it is so. And so it is. Amen. All right. Okay, well, we're going to do another song. And
It's Peter Mayer Sunday.
it's kind of a Peter Mayer Sunday. You all know Peter Mayer. He visited our church a couple years ago now, probably. Beautiful singer-songwriter from Minnesota, I think it is. And this is a song we've loved for years. I think he did it while he was here. It's how our faith changes as we grow and evolve. It's a song called Holy Now.
Sunday we would go to church and pay attention to the priest, and he would read the holy word and consecrate the holy bread, and everyone would kneel and bow. Today the only difference is everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. Sunday school, we would learn about the time Moses split the sea in two, and Jesus made the water wine. And I remember feeling sad, the miracles don't happen still, but now I can't keep track, 'cause everything's a miracle. Everything's a miracle. Wine from water is not so small, but an even better magic trick than anything is here at all. So the challenging thing becomes not to look for miracles, but finding where there isn't one. When holy water was rare at best, barely wet my fingertips, but now I have to hold my breath like I'm swimming in a sea of it. It used to be a world half there, heaven second rate handed down, but I walk it with a reverent care, 'cause everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. Read a questioning child's face and say it's not a testament. That'd be very hard to say. See another new morning come and say it's not a sacrament. I tell you that it can't be done. This morning outside I stood and saw a little red-winged bird shining like a burning bush and singing like a scripture verse. It made me want to bow my head. I remember when church let out how things have changed since then. Everything is holy now. It used to be a world half there, heaven's second-rate hand-me-down, but I'm walking with a reverend air, 'cause everything is holy now. Everything, everything, everything is holy now. Everything, everything, everything is holy now. Everything, everything, everything is holy now.
Faith is a verb, part 2. Faith is a verb, part 2. I just sort of started out and I thought, this is too much for one message, and then I had to add in another, and I think there's going to be yet another. Faith is a rich topic, faith in our lives and how it changes and evolves as we grow and evolve. Not a definite thing we either have or don't have, although many of us grew up with that understanding of faith. It's either something you have or you don't have. I was really enjoying a book by Sharon Salzberg called Faith, where she talked about faith as a verb, like breathe and breath. Verbs are active, they're doing things, they're changing and growing, and that is what faith is like. It's an always shifting activity of our mind and hearts. It never stays the same throughout our lives. Sometimes we feel like we don't have any at all, and then it gets rekindled, and then it's different in a different way. It's changing all the time. And of course, the grounding of our deepest faith is what is possible for us. I like that Salzberg describes faith in just that simple manner. It's a sense of possibilities. What is possible for you to become, to grow into? What is your potential? And by extension then, for all of us and for the communities we live in, we're grounded in unity, and I think throughout Christianity, really, in this sense that there's a higher potential for all of us, demonstrated and taught by Jesus of Nazareth. And he said this Christ nature was in us as well. These things and greater things shall you do. He said you can become one with God in you as well, and all things become possible. In Buddhism, they teach the same truth, really, just with different words, that everyone has Buddha nature. That everyone has this high potential to become like the Buddha was through that practicing communing with God within. That's the ground of our faith in many ways. And it seems like it's in the fabric of creation that if we go through those times where we're not feeling like much is possible, we're discouraged or depressed or disheartened in some way, opportunities come. It's the hand of God at work in our midst. Opportunities come to rekindle our faith and for it to deepen as we look at that and as we reflect on that. I like that in Buddhism they talk about different stages of faith and they give them names. So we talked last week about that flush of faith when you hear something or you see something in another individual that they're modeling for you, or you stumble upon some teachings in a book or a teacher, and it gives you this new sense of possibilities. And there's this flush of faith that's rekindled. That's very exciting. It's one of those things in life that's transformative that you don't forget. You heard something, you saw, it's like Myrtle Fillmore going into that lecture hall and hearing the lecturer say, "You're a child of God and you do not inherit illness." And she'd had TB her whole life and wasn't expected to live long. She took that home with her. That's a transcendent kind of moment where you get this flush of new possibilities. They call that stage of faith bright faith in Buddhism, bright faith, and it's very energizing. You start gobbling up more, you start praying and communing with God more, you start soaking up anything you're drawn to. And the hand of God is in all of that, because all of a sudden there's more to learn, more to see, more to think about, more teachers coming your way. You know, that old saying about when the student is ready, the teacher appears. It's absolutely true. Would you agree? It's like we're in the right place and we're open and we start just drawing this to us. That's the flush of bright faith energy. And it comes at different times in our lives, sometimes repeatedly. I was remembering a story, Joe reminded me of it, that Wayne Manning told us years ago. How many of you remember Wayne Manning? He was a senior minister, co-minister at Unity of Columbus for several years in the 90s, I guess it was. But he told us this story of how we were asking about how he got into Unity. He was a country music guy. He was in a country band of some kind, and he was touring around somewhere. I think Nashville, maybe area, and with the band, and he was wanting to put out some flyers for the band and needed to make some copies. So he was looking around for a mimeograph machine. Excuse me. How many of you remember mimeograph machines? When I started teaching, I used a mimeograph machine, but that was what you did for copies then. And he was directed to a church where they had a mimeograph machine, and he went in. It was a Unity church. And as he was chatting with the office manager, making copies on the mimeograph machine, he was glancing at a copy of a book that was lying there that he took a lot of interest in. It really kind of engaged his interest. It was a book called Lessons in Truth. Emily Cady, Unity Classic, and he talked to the office manager about it. What was it about? What is it? What are the teachings in it? And he was very engaged by that. She gave him the book to take home with him. Bright faith arose. It was one of those moments in Wayne Manning's life that changed his life entirely. And really within several years from that moment, and he was taking classes and going to churches, no doubt, but within several years he was attending Unity Ministerial School in Lee's Summit, Missouri, and he was meeting his wife-to-be, Janet Bowser, who was also in ministerial school. And the first time I met them, they were leading the retreat out there at the village, because they were both very musical. They did wonderful music together, and life was changed. That bright faith energy. Bright faith can be very powerful, very energizing, can be life-changing. But it has to then be cultivated and looked at, or else it will dwindle. It will diminish and lose its energy if we don't cultivate it further, if we don't verify it. If we don't begin to really investigate that faith, those beliefs that we believe strongly in now, but we haven't practiced them yet in our lives, we haven't really verified them, it can sometimes become a kind of blind faith that isn't very powerful and that diminishes and becomes very untrustworthy. I think we all kind of know that the negative side of blind faith. It's kind of associated with kind of an unthinking devotion to a teaching or a set of teachings without question. In fact, sometimes in cults, like, you're encouraged not to question it. Don't look at that. Don't ask questions about it. Trust me. Dangerous kind of way. And if you don't begin to ask questions about your faith, it can kind of go in that way. I was remembering, we may all know stories like this, but I had a dear friend in high school who sometime in the early college years was introduced to the Moonies. Do you remember the Moonies? Reverend Sun Young Moon, I think he came out of Korea, became very in the national movement, and he got very involved in it. He was kind of famous for doing these huge group weddings of his followers, and there's still YouTube things out there and so on about him. Very unquestioning devotion was expected in that cult. No questioning of your faith, just doing it. Fortunately, my friend got out of it some years later, was able to get out, and wants nothing to do with religion ever since then. Totally understandable idea. So it's really important, and in Buddhism this is understood very clearly. Bright faith is a start. You hear some teachings, some beliefs that you're very excited about. But then you need to verify your faith. Verified faith, that's the next step. Which means you've heard these beliefs, you're really taken with them, but see how they work in your life. Do they really improve your life? We stay very open to questioning. Lots of questions, lots of doubt even. Doubt is important. Buddhism talks about skillful doubt, which just means asking good questions. Don't be totally cynical or dismiss something. but be doubtful until you verify and practice something. They call that skillful doubt. I think that's an important thing to think about. You want to have an alive participation with these beliefs that you're embracing, and see how they work for you in practice. There's a wonderful story out of Buddhism about the Buddha after he became enlightened. One of the first people he encounters on the road was taken by this radiance about the Buddha. He's just gone through this long, process of study and finding the path to enlightenment and reflection on how to share that with others now. And so this guy comes up to him on the road and says, "Who are you?" And the Buddha says, "I am an awakened one. I am awake." And the man said, "Well, maybe." And he walked on. I think it's a great teaching story. It's a minimal little story, but we get that way, don't we? That's unskillful doubt. It's like, I'm not open. Yeah, the Buddha, right? Awake. Okay. And that's very common in our experience, that unskillful doubt where we're not open. Somebody will say something or some teaching and we'll think, we'll just dismiss it out of hand because it's not our experience. So they're talking about skillful doubt and questioning and wonder and asking questions and really trying your faith out, trying these beliefs out, trying these teachings, these practices out, and see how they really work for you. And as you do that and you find something works, your faith deepens because it's being verified in your own experience. And we do this in all kinds of ways. In Salzburg's book, she's a Buddhist, she talked about practice in meditation. That's really a key focal point for practice in Buddhism. And focusing on the breath, as it comes in and out, and when ideas arise, thoughts arise, you just bring it back to the breath. And you do that. You do that every day. You do that sometimes hours at a time. You do this practice. And at first she was doing it by faith, by great faith. She was told this would help her develop more abiding peace, more freedom from the slavery to negative thoughts that come in and out of the mind. But it was just a belief at first. But then after some months of practice, she said that a day arose when she felt this deep sense of peace she hadn't felt before. And it seemed very steady and stable. And she thought, this works. That's verifying your faith. And then it deepens more. Then you're even more committed to your practice, to what you believe. You take it even more to heart as you verify it. I think we do this in all our traditions. We do the same thing. In Unity, we talk on Sundays and in the occasional classes we introduce teachings, the power of gratitude practice, the power of focusing on gratitude, the power of focusing on thoughts of good, on our blessings, instead of focusing entirely on what we lack or what we're fearful about or worried about. We talk about how that changes our experience of our lives as we shift our focus in that manner. Have we tested that out? Have you verified that in your life? See, I think that's exactly what this is kind of all about. And we talk about that a lot. Experiences when we had an opportunity to verify it, and how that deepens our faith then. I shared probably more than once, and I'm sorry you get to hear some of these stories 2 or 3 times, but the story I did about, I was going through about depression for a while. This is way back, I don't know how many years ago, 25, 30 years ago, but going through a bad depression, and every day just, really sort of feeling just very depressed. And a psychologist friend of mine suggested, you really ought to track this. This really could be clinical depression. You really should track every day how deep your depression is and how many days, consistently you're there. And so I started using my calendar in my kitchen, had little boxes on it, wall calendar, and I'd make little notes in there about how depressed I was every day. Well, the more I did it, the more depressed I got, obviously. And in the evening, while I was making dinner, that was usually when I would look at my calendar and add something, I think, this is really bringing me down. These notes. And I realized, good Unity Truth student that I was, I'm working against principle here. The beliefs I believe in, the principles I've been taught are that as we shift our focus, our lives improve. we feel more peace as we learn to shift our thoughts away from our misery. That doesn't mean we don't sometimes need help, but we can work with these principles to help ourselves, no matter what else we might need to do. And so I began to shift that, and instead of putting how depressed I was in that box, I would put some blessing I experienced that day, something I saw, and it could have been a V of geese that flew over the house that morning. It could have been I would see this dog on my morning walk who could wag his tail in a circle. Have you ever seen a dog who could wag his tail in a full circle? It would delight me morning after morning. Or of new flowers that are blooming as I walked up to the Park of Roses, or a card I got in the mail, or any little blessing of the day. And I just make a note of that. I'd pick from among them, and I'd write something on that in the calendar, while I was making my evening meal. And I found that it was, I remember my sister was visiting around that time. She was a Unity minister also out in California. She said, "Oh, it's a prosperity practice you're doing," looking at my calendar. And I hadn't thought of it that way, but yeah, that is a prosperity practice. We feel life more abundant as we track blessings day by day. And it trained my eyes to see more blessings during the day, because I was watching for them, something I was going to put on the calendar later. It opens your eyes to that. Oh, I could write that down later. Look at that. I'll put that down. Look at that sunrise this morning. That could go on the calendar. We can train ourselves. And in this manner, I verified my faith in that belief. I verified my faith in practice that it does indeed make a big difference in the quality of my life if I take some charge of my thoughts and where I'm going to focus them. And if I just do it a moment each day, if it's just a practice at the end of the day or on the beginning of the day, the spin-off of that will be remarkable. The ripple effects of that can be remarkable. We have opportunities to practice this every day. And the key thing we need to do is to trust ourselves, I think. You have an inner trust gauge that you can rely on. And when you have some beliefs that you need to verify, and maybe you're thinking right now about something, is there a belief you've heard about and you really kind of believe in, you think it's powerful, but you're not sure if it really works in your life and what you're dealing with and some of the challenges you're facing? Test it, press it into service, and watch for how you're feeling inside, what's working, what's true for you and what's not. You have an inner truth gauge that comes direct from the Creator that you can trust. And as you follow that, and you question, and you try things, and you look at your results and how you're feeling inside, you will be guided to a deeper faith, a verified faith, and eventually, maybe not too long down the road, an abiding faith. And that's the third stage that probably go a little further with that next week. But an abiding faith that will not be shaken no matter what circumstances you're dealing with in life, all the way through. So let's close today with prayer, as we always do, affirming our awareness that we are deeply God-connected beings, that God in us and flowing through us and around us provides us with opportunities by day and by night to deepen our awareness of the gifts of life, to deepen our awareness of the potential within us, and to realize it more and more fully, and to provide opportunities to practice, to deepen, to become more fully who we are. Thank you, God, for your unfailing presence with us in this and in all things. We are grateful. And so it is. Amen. Can I hear an amen?
Amen.
Thank you. Well, we're going to go into another song. It seemed fitting for the day. It's another Peter Mayer tune. It just seems about kind of the time change, It seemed different this morning, didn't it? I woke up and I thought, I'm late. It's so light. Why is it so light? Why isn't it clocks? Setting clocks. I didn't even think about it. But of course, nowadays, everybody's got it on their phone, which shifts automatically. But anyway, the turning of the earth and the seasons seemed a fitting song for the day. It's called Turn Me Earth by Peter Mayer. Join on the chorus.
Turn me earth to a new sunrise, turn me into the light of morning. Turn me earth when I close my eyes, Turn me into the light of morning. Turn me the earth around your star. Turn me into the night. Through the seasons we will go. Turn me into the light of morning. Summer rain and winter snow. Turn me into the night. Turn me, turn me, turn me into the morning light. Turn me, turn me, turn me into the night. Turn me, turn me, turn me into the morning light. Turn me, turn me, turn me into the night. Mother Earth, your child I am. Turn me into the light of morning. I was born for this dance.